Hi, and welcome to the Business Pioneer Podcast. I'm your host, Erica Montgomery, founder and CEO of Three Girls Media Inc., an award-winning digital marketing agency. Today's guest, Alana Heim, brings a fascinating and holistic perspective to the world of money and prosperity. She has over 15 years experience in public accounting and 9 years leading Prosperity Alignment Inc. Alana combines her experience as a CPA, a PFS, and CFP. And if you don't know what all those initials mean, that's okay. We're going to get into it. But she combines all of that with intuitive and energetic wisdom, which I absolutely love. Now, she's not just a financial planner. She calls herself a cosmic prosperity activator, which is amazing for a title. She guides business owners and individuals to align their inner self-worth with their outer net worth. And in this episode, we're going to explore how Alana's background in accounting led her to uncover the emotional and energetic side of money, and why aligning your inner truth is key to your financial success. Alana, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. It's such an exciting honor to be here. I'm excited to chat with you today.
I'm thrilled to have you. So tell our viewers a little bit about your business. How did Prosperity Alignment come to be, and what is it exactly that you do?
Coming from the financial industry, you can already see how it's usually taxes and filings and compliance and some of those pieces. I primarily did a lot of estate work. So when somebody passes, we have to administer the estate. What I saw is that a majority of people didn't really know what the plan was, and they ended up suing each other.
Oh,
So here's mom or dad passing, and siblings, starting to fight over said assets. Maybe they didn't really even like their sibling. One's left to be in charge as the executor. And the human component was never at play. And that's what I really started to see is whether it's taxes and your business is successful, and now all of a sudden you have this big tax liability, all the emotions, all the fears, all the different pieces that no one really talks about started to come up, started to bubble to the surface. So for me, it was more leaving the industry in that typical sense, because there's plenty of people who are going to do your taxes, who are going to manage your money, do your bookkeeping, help you do all the tax planning. I really moved into creating prosperity alignment with the intention that we're going to look at you as the human. So who are you? And what are those dreams? We want to have that sense of where are we going, and not getting stuck in just the strategic kind of external aspects of wealth, that whole net worth piece, but rather starting to go inward with our inner wealth, knowing more of our intuitive, energetic aspects that are really a big part of our self-worth. So kind of being the bridge to both of these worlds, helping a lot of business owners actually know their energies, whether we're talking masculine versus feminine. How do we start to integrate these parts? How do we look at our fears, our emotions? And even bigger, are they even yours? So I've got different tools to help people really know themselves, using some energy work, some energy astrology-based tools, helping people to really know, okay, if I am sitting with a client, a friend, a family member, am I feeling their energies, or is this mine? And then when we have that discernment, we can really start to go into a new direction to know ourselves and how we can show up in the most efficient, effective way on the planet.
I love that because being an empath personally, I absorb a lot of emotions from other people. And so if I have a day like I've had today, where I'm in back to back to back meetings all day long, by the end of it, I am just exhausted. I have absorbed so much energy and so much emotion from everyone I've met with and talked to. It can be a real burnout. So I appreciate that you look at things not just from a financial perspective, but also from the human perspective and that energy perspective. And it's fascinating because I have met a lot of, financial planners and financial advisors over the years, but I have never, ever met anyone who does it the way you do it and with such a unique approach. So this is absolutely fascinating. What led you to really combine the two and realize that there was this different approach that you could take with financial planning?
I really love to dive in and learn things. And I think there was a point in my life that I was just on the hamster wheel,
Mhm.
CPA, tax season world, that I lost my way. I lost sight of that. And something brought and kind of came and brought me back to that place of just really wanting to research and learn. And so in the last couple of years as the CPA, I was listening to every different summit that was out there. So this is already 10 years ago, and really listening to stuff that had nothing to do even with business. It could just be health or these different pieces coming in. And it led me to find the human design tool that I use. It's an astrology based tool based on birth information. When I learned how the energies operate, and actually my design is not someone who should be tethered to said CPA industry, being the
Mhm.
doer, that I'm really more this guide, that I already can see things. I have certain energetic components, wisdom, and pieces to bring in, that when I found it already just started to make sense for me to look at things more from this energetic piece. And so since that point, it's just been like an accelerated growth in a whole different world, whole different dynamics, learning so many other pieces of myself, but recognizing as I gain new tools, they're actually helping me to see that holistic picture and
Mm.
pieces start to come into place. So, for example, if a client is struggling financially, or they're successful, but maybe they've hit that next level of growth, but they're kind of stuck and they're losing momentum. Now we can go into not just the physical components, but emotional and mental and spiritual. And each of those have such profound pieces to the puzzle and the energy underneath it all. So I always say I'm helping you navigate those energies
Mhm.
beneath your business, your life, your money. Those are the currents that are pulling you in the ocean, right? You don't
Mm.
even know sometimes you're being pulled in a certain direction until you look back and you go, wow, the shore is way over there. That's not where I was. And so it's this way of looking at, okay, if there are certain energies that are coming in impacting me financially, are they mine? Are they things I picked up from my mom or my dad? Is it stuff I'm learning even in the relationship I'm in from my partner or from my siblings, my friends? We start to learn and take in so many aspects that aren't even ours, and then they keep us stuck. So I get to really help clients look at themselves in a whole new way, to give them permission again to say, wow, wait a minute, I actually am a mind reader. I'm that empath more mindfully, that I pick everybody else's information up and their thoughts. And so if I'm beating myself up in limitation, was that even my thought?
Mm.
And financially, we do that. Like the things we heard growing up, I can't afford it, or we can't afford it, or we're
Mhm.
poor, and just all the things we know how powerful beliefs are. But if you start to realize, oh my gosh, I actually am this beacon for everybody else's mind chatter, it's not even mine. You get to start to change that. And if we get to look even more physically in the body, if we have illness, if we have disease that's coming in, there are always symptoms to help us dive deeper. And I just see how all of these parts connect into prosperity. They connect into the finance. And it's not even really about the finance as much as you are this prosperity beacon. And if you don't feel it or think it or believe it yourself, then those are the parts that we really want to dive into.
Yeah, I love that. And there's something that you said that really piqued my curiosity. And that was that sometimes you work with people who don't have a lot of financial assets or might be struggling financially. And in my mind, I always thought of people needing a financial planner or financial advisor if they were really wealthy and had a ton of assets. But it sounds like maybe that's not the case.
Anybody can start now, right?
Hmm.
And should start now. And I also put the flag on the play only in the sense of don't just go find anybody either, because then you are going to start to see other people's energies. And
Ah.
it's a masculine industry in the
Hmm.
financial world. And I say masculine in the sense that it's also very ego.
Sure.
Right? There's a lot of people living in their head. I used to be one of them.
Hmm.
The ego comes out, the expert comes out, this part of the industry that's like, look, Erica, here's what you need to do. And
Hmm.
it's very demanding. It can feel very intimidating, almost overwhelming. People start to feel like I'm not good enough. Who do I think I am with my little 401k? Maybe I should
Hmm.
just do it by myself. The truth is, if you resonate and energetically there's somebody who sees you and gets you and wants to really help know you and your financial goals,
Hmm.
work with them, knowing that you're hiring them, yes, for expertise, but you're the one who owns this dynamic, that you
Hmm.
are not abdicating your responsibility, that you're really coming in and looking at what is going to work for me, not just do what you want with my money, but that you actually realize that you do have this responsibility. You have this power to say where you want it to go, what resonates. So sometimes, if you're in a 401k, you might feel like, well, I'm just stuck with what are the options.
Hmm.
But sometimes there's other opportunities that maybe really can move some money into an IRA and be able to have that power in what you're investing in. Maybe you don't want it in just certain stocks, and now you're getting to make choices. The thing with finance is people will always tell you what works for them. And
Hmm.
that's where you have to know that line of they are not you. Just
Hmm.
because they tell you that it works for them doesn't mean it'll work for you. And
Hmm.
you're already going to have this energetic knowing and this sense of this resonates, this feels good or not. And oftentimes it's when you have a friend that says, oh, you got to go invest in real estate. You got to go buy this. It's the people who didn't really want to do that. They were unsure. They were a little maybe scared. They did it. Markets tank. Now they're
Hmm.
mad, right? And
Yeah.
now they go into blame mode. They're going to blame the friend. They're going to blame everyone. And they're going to hate real estate.
Right.
It wasn't real estate's fault as much as it just wasn't either the right alignment, it wasn't the right timing, it didn't really fit. Doesn't mean that it's not good for everyone, but usually then that's the person who's going to tell everyone, don't invest in real estate, don't do this because it didn't work for
Hmm.
me. We're not meant to just follow the crowd, but that's what we're conditioned to do. So for
Hmm.
me, it's always bringing you back inward, connecting to your truth, knowing how you make decisions so that when an opportunity presents, you're already going to have that sense of you're all in or you're out. And that you can talk with said financial advisor and allow them to give you input and advice, but you're the one making the ultimate decision.
Yeah, I think that's so important to recognize that you're in control of your money and,
Yes.
and that you're in control of your life, and that you're the ultimate decision maker. And you put it perfectly saying that you can certainly rely on a financial advisor or a marketing expert like myself or whatever for advice and for good counsel. But when the rubber hits the road, ultimately it's your decision how to move forward and what to do. And empowering people that way, I think, goes a long way to building trust as an entrepreneur, right? And
Yes.
letting people trust our businesses. So I absolutely love that. Now, I don't want to get into a like a hardcore political discussion or anything, but as long as we're talking financial planning, there has been a lot of upset, at least in half the country, about what's going on in the White House and how that may impact the financial markets. What's your advice to people when it comes to potential political turmoil and long-term financial investing?
It's always been there.
Hmm.
And it if you didn't see it before, maybe now something has drawn you in to see it.
Hmm.
And it's interesting because partly me creating my business, I'm never going to do taxes. I still have my licenses. I still need to
Mhm.
do all the continuing education and follow up. But coming from an industry that's heavily determined by who's in said White House,
Mhm.
it constantly changed.
Yeah.
Always. Every year, every tax season, didn't matter if you already had Congress shifting or now you have a new president coming in, it was always changing. And again, only when it hits you personally do you feel that pull, right? Or
Mhm.
you start to see how it impacts you. And so there's always been times when people are impacted and you never see it because it's not you.
Mhm.
Except the bigger piece, the energies at play. This is what has been, let's just say, destined. We have massive upheaval that
Mhm.
is going to continue to hit all of our systems. So I come from this place of knowing everything really has to change.
Mhm.
And as humans, we're designed, we actually thrive with change,
Mhm.
but our very systems keep us contained in this little bubble that we think we're safe and happy in, but the whole time our stress is building and we're unhappy here and we're burning out here and we don't want to do all these things. Why? Because you're stuck in the same rut.
Yeah.
And when we're stuck, we're actually seeking something new. Whether we've got to get in a new relationship, change jobs, move areas, find new people, find new parts of ourselves, new things
Mhm.
that we can really lean into. That's what's happening on a very big collective level. So I actually look a lot at energies, what's transiting planetarily. I'm not an astrologist, although I look at the energies just through a deeper level of really more the Chinese I Ching. But we're in times of just lots of emotional energy that
Mhm.
the whole of humanity is feeling. And as humans, we really are not great at all with dealing with emotions, but that's
Mhm.
exactly what makes us human.
Yeah.
And so, as much as people are upset and it's coming out, just know that there's actually emotional energy to the throat for every human. And this has been, we're in it for another month. And just what that means is even if you thought you couldn't get it out, it's just there. So
Mhm.
whether we're seeing that politics is triggering people or our situations are triggering, everything is on a trajectory of more growth, more
Mhm.
transformation.
Mhm.
And the way I see it is we know our financial systems are not great. They don't really work the best for everyone. We'll see glaring issues. You're seeing it in the insurance industries right now where there
Mhm.
are companies pulling out of states that people are suddenly uninsurable or they're just skyrocketing prices. Um, I see it even with the stock market. It's getting harder to predict. And what that means is we used to be very in the future, right? Like that's a futuristic predictive model. We're looking at the past to predict the future. We're changing so quickly because we're all actually starting to live more in the present moment. When you're creating from the present moment, you can't really predict where you're going because it's changing so quickly. And I think that's what it's hard for us to wrap our heads around. And we look at it like, sometimes you have to kind of fall off the bike before you can get back on and learn to ride, and all of these things we know as humans, especially when we're little kids. It's just easy. It's an adventure. We're not attached to it. It's play, it's
Mhm.
fun. Like, let's see what happens. But when we're adults and we've invested our entire life into the stock market or into 401ks, we've been saving, we've been earning a pension, we've been doing these things because we thought we had to and it was the right thing to do. If you suddenly fell off the bike and that means money takes a tumble and starts to go down, you don't necessarily think you can get back on the bike anymore. We
Mhm.
suddenly become really emotional, very fearful. We forget how powerful we are as human beings to create and change the reality and change the world because it should be more sustainable for all of us. You know, like the classes are really getting squished, and it's like more and more the elites and those who own it all control it all. And then most people are feeling like, well, I have no choice. Like, what can I do? That's why everything's becoming very transparent and what's working, what's not. It's not just finance, right? We've already started to see it in the medical field. We're seeing it in our education systems. We're seeing it across the board everywhere. And all I can say for each and every one of us is to breathe.
Great advice.
To smile, even if you don't feel like you have anything to smile about, and to start really leaning into, what are you here for? What do you want to like excite you and be able to lean into and be of service to really help? Because sometimes I play the game of like, if money really wasn't even in the world, how would the world go round?
Yeah.
And would you still be doing what you're doing right now? And most people, that's not the case.
Yeah.
They would be like, I'm somewhere off doing this and this and this. And again, we start to like really visualize kind of this unrealistic part of like, I'd retire and live on a beach forever.
Right.
Except I ask then, like, how often have you ever actually gone to the beach and just gone on the vacation? Most people can't even last a couple days and they're bored, or they're like, oh my God, I got to get back to doing something.
Yeah.
That's our innate soul longing to help each other and to really be of service. And it's actually not so much about the money, especially as we get older and we realize like, oh my gosh, that's draining and that's exhausting and those people are not my people. When you start to really know yourself and have the clarity, I've changed my views with retirement. Ultimately, the people who want to retire, they don't love what they do. But when you love what you're doing, what you're creating, who you're working with, like, you would never quit it, right?
Yeah.
You want to do it almost forever because it's like, it's exciting. And if you get to help change lives through marketing and really working with businesses and help people grow, you're so excited, you're passionate, you love it. It's like, why would you ever retire from that? You wouldn't.
Exactly. No, exactly. And, every once in a while you run into these people who say, oh gosh, I want to retire by the time I'm 45 or, 50 or something like that. And, I'm 57 and going strong. And in a couple months in June, I'll be celebrating my 20th year in business. And I want another 20 years. I'm having a great time. I love helping small and mid-sized business owners. I love the work that I do. I love meeting new people. And even though, a lot of people think of marketing as, disposable, it's not, I guess a crucial service for a lot of people or whatever, I still really look at the impact I make and how it does help a lot of businesses. And I do think it's necessary because you don't just open your doors for business and business will come, right? You've got to market yourself and get out there.
Yes.
So whether you do it yourself or you hire someone to do it for you, you've got to market your business. But yeah, I'm going strong and have no desire to retire anytime soon. So
right. And even if there's parts that you realize that you're like, oh, I don't really love this, then you're going to outsource or you're going to find the people who are also excited and they're really good. And so maybe there's parts of the marketing that you're like, okay, I like the connection part. I want to get in front of the newbies and, get them working with us and then pass them on. Whatever it is, it's like you start to realize what is your specific gift. How can you really keep leaning in and showing up in this way that excites you? It's fun. And you're just going to keep going another 20 years more,
Yeah. Absolutely. So, Alana, in your introduction, I mentioned 3 acronyms, CPA, PFS, and CFP. Now, I think most people know what a CPA is. But I don't think most people know what a PFS is or a CFP is. So can you explain those, please?
Yes. CPA is Certified Public Accountant. So again, it's tax season. Who needs a CPA? The PFS is a personal financial specialist.
Oh.
It's another aspect of being a CPA. So the CPA world, the public accountants, they kind of realized they do a lot in the way of certified financial planners, which is the CFP. But normally, when you're already working with your CPA, you already trust them, and they kind of started to cross into the financial planning world. And so a personal financial specialist was somebody who was a CPA, but already was starting to, let's say, do more financial planning, helping you with your big financial plan and perspective. So it was just like another designation that somehow like I landed and, needed to get or got. And then the certified financial planner, I really love both the CPA and the CFP because ethics are a big piece of it. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, there's a lot of financial advisors. Financial advisors are they don't necessarily have oversight with any specific board. They really do have the licensing that can tie to the SEC and some of kind of federal government pieces. But there's a lot of financial advisors that, let's say, will totally sell you into a product, but not necessarily have any ethics around being your fiduciary. And fiduciary means I am putting you in said product because it is for your best interest. It is for your highest good. It has nothing to do with me. I'm not putting you in it because I'm going to make money off of it. Financial advisors can easily put you in a product because it's actually going to make them more money. Right. And so this is the fine line that I see with all financial industries. And whether you want to say even government oversights that tend to regulate their very industries that, I'm thinking FDA or, CDC, a lot of these pharma companies go right into the government, and then they oversee their same company, and then they go back and forth, right? So you start to see how these different systems can look the other way, right? It's like, let me do this because I actually benefit, but yeah, I guess it's good for the people too. As CFPs and CPAs, we have ethics. So we're always the fiduciary. We always put our clients' interests first, has nothing to do with us. There's a lot of crossover of is there independence or not, and having to be transparent and making sure that can we even work on your stuff, or is there a conflict of interest? Some of those pieces that I think really we see in government somehow that doesn't exist. There's always conflicts of interest or, insider trading that still seems to happen somehow, even though there's rules for the rest of us. So it's just looking at, again, it's a very trustworthy position to be in. And do you trust this person and they're really looking out for you or not? And even for me, kind of being this consultant / coaching, it's like tell everybody who your clients are. And I really come back and lean into being the CPA. I can't tell people who my clients are, and so sometimes it's a dynamic of even in networking, wanting to refer, but I can't usually name who I'm working with. And I think sometimes that's why clients like working with me too, because then they know, oh, good. Nobody knows that I'm working with you. And maybe they think, because I can get kind of to those deeper levels of, is there something wrong with me in my financial relationship with money? Or is there, like all these inadequacies that are coming up and we're diving into? And sometimes it feels a little bit like therapy in the sense of like people just share all the stuff, I don't even quite have to ask, but it's just like, but again, there's that trust factor. And for me, it's confidential. I'm sharing this with just between us. And then even when I'm working in team dynamics, because I'll work with businesses and helping, let's say, a business owner know their energy, but maybe they're bringing in their team because there's some team dynamics or miscommunication or energy pieces that they need to really know each other. So it's helping the team. But if I'm off helping you privately, like I'm not bringing that back to the team. It's like, tell me, we're sharing this kind of in your own private space. So if that helps you, great. We don't need to carry it forward. So yeah, just looking at these dynamics, again, not everybody has designations and there's probably a reason sometimes. It's a lot of work, but it's easy to also not have to have regulations and, follow ethics and be a fiduciary.
Yeah. And I think that's so important. I had an unfortunate experience with a financial planner my husband and I were working with, and they ended up putting us in a particular, um, I think it was like a market account or stock or something like that, where they got a certain commission out of it. And we had no idea. And they never disclosed that
Mm.
until somehow we found out. And we felt really uncomfortable with that because we weren't told up front that they were earning a commission by putting us in this particular thing. And we called her on it and said, hey, we would have appreciated knowing this up front because it raises questions. And she, apologized all over the place. She gave us the commission back, which we really appreciated. But it's just about the transparency, right? It's
Yes.
not so much whether the commission was there or not. It was about the communication and the transparency of it that was a problem. So I can
Yeah.
appreciate that, and that you want to be very forthcoming with your clients and, have that real honesty. So I appreciate that for sure. Yeah.
And that's how you build trust,
Yeah.
and especially with you working with marketing, trust is everything. Like, how
Mm-hmm.
do you build this trust with this like perfect stranger who's somehow going to find you and, maybe connect with you, but they've been burned elsewhere and they
Right.
have kind of that skepticism, or they're a little unsure, and now they see you through those same lenses of like, everybody's going to be out to screw me, and so
Yeah. If I had a nickel for every time I talked to a potential client that told me something to the effect of, I hired some marketing agency or marketing consultant, paid them thousands and thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands of dollars, never heard from them, had no idea what they were doing for us, and it was a complete
Mm,
waste of time and money. I have heard that story so many times. I don't understand what these marketing people are doing out there, but it gives the industry as a whole a horrible reputation. And I really try to be the antithesis of that. And so I firmly believe in high touch, high communication, full transparency. You'll always know what Three Girls Media is working on for you. You will always be able to pick up the phone and call me directly, even though, I'm not necessarily your day to day account manager. And I really believe in building that trust with our clients, because it seems that as an industry, we've broken trust somehow. So, yeah, it's just crazy out there. And I'm sure it's a very similar story in financial services, right? There are a lot of great people out there, but there are also some pretty sketchy ones.
well, and then that comes back around to politics,
Yeah.
because when you have an industry that clearly is scamming people or doing things, and then that's where somehow it gets to law of like, we need to put some regulations in. And as much
Mm,
as regulations sound great, there's still always loopholes, or somehow it still doesn't apply to certain people, and now you have these extra things that you have to do. And so the financial industry is heavily regulated. And
mm,
there's a lot of financial educators. There's lots
mm,
of kind of companies that run because they start with the education piece. And so
mm,
education is okay as long as you're not like marketing and advertising, and it starts to get into those different wonky places of like, what are you sharing, and it can't be misleading. And but at the same time, it's just, I look at and come from the perspective, if I know myself and you know yourself, we as humans are going to start to get to a point where we really can't BS each other energetically. If you're that empath and you were, drained through the day because you were picking up people's energy, but there's going to be a point when you start to feel and know exactly what you're picking up. And if
mm,
I know you're inauthentic, if I feel your fears, if I can feel your emotions, I know where your thoughts are, I can call you out when,
mm,
just like you calling out your financial advisor, but I can call you out before you even do the thing, or before
mm,
you even consider it, because we're starting to get to this place as humans where we're more and more aligned with our truth and our authenticity. And when we're there, we can only show up in our highest good. And we're
yeah.
really not going to come from that place of like, I need this. There's the desperation starts to go away. The lack and scarcity we're starting to let go, but that's still heavily laden in all our systems. The fear is rampant, right? And even marketing has been from that fear level. But I'll tell you, so is finances. How do people want to get you to buy insurance?
Yeah.
They're going to tell you the sad story of the wife that lost her husband and didn't have insurance, and now look what happened, right? So those things are more the emotional, the fear to like pull you back in and sell you in this place of vulnerability rather than from this place of empowerment.
Yeah.
Of realizing how can you shift your legacy and make sure your family is taken care of, so it's all in the languaging, but really underneath it all, it's part of the energy. And that's the part that I see of, if I can constantly pause myself and look in and go, okay, am I responding from a place of love, or am I reacting because I'm upset and now I'm projecting that? It doesn't matter if you give me the best marketing plan. If my energy is like, really upset and fearful, that's what I'm delivering. So I'm just always helping people to come back to this place, this space. How do you find that calm within? How do you really create more peace on the planet? It doesn't start with changing it out there. It starts here. Always. I can't even know what peace is until I can learn to feel it and be in that space.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Alana, I have loved our conversation. This has been so much fun. If we have watchers who are interested in potentially working with you, or maybe they'd like to have a consultation, what's the best way to reach you?
You can find me at www.prosperityalignment.com. And I do have a 20-minute free call that you can jump on. I also have sessions that you can book. I liked starting with the consultation just because let's get to know each other, for you to see if I'm a fit and figure out really what's the best next step for you and how to support you, making sure that you're honoring yourself and letting go of the noise out here.
Yeah.
Because really you said it with politics and White House. Like if you don't see that this is the biggest distraction, then maybe we do need to talk. Because when you're here, you start to realize it's not that you don't care, but you don't let it have power over you anymore.
Yeah, so smart. Absolutely. All right, prosperityalignment.com to get a hold of Alana. Thank you so much for our conversation today. It's been an absolute blast. I appreciate you being a guest.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right, you take care. Bye now.
Bye.